So let's quickly do a short tutorial. Hi besties, welcome to class. So today's class we're doing something very simple. We're doing a shift dress with this trimming. So I'm using 1.5 yards of crepe fabric. So the first thing we need to do is to drop 1 inch as usual. That will start as our borderline. So I'm going to measure the waistline. I'll measure the waistline. So after doing that, the next thing I want to do is to do my full length. For this gown, it's very short. I'm using 14 inches. By the time I turn it, it will be 39 inches. So when I'm done, I'm going to measure my hip line. Do you understand? So you just measure your hip line. It's a very simple tutorial. You measure your hip line and just roll it across. So when you are done, you're now going to measure your shoulder divided by 2 as usual and mark it. Then for this, we are not separating front and back bust because it's a shift dress. If you are familiar with this channel, you know that if I want to sew a fitted dress, I separate the front and the back bust, but we're not doing that because it's a shift dress. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Do you understand? Before then, now we're going to do our shoulder slope. You know it's We'll come down by 1 inch, going by 2.5. Meanwhile, everything is on fold. I'm cutting the front and back together. So I'm just going to connect it. How you're going to get your armhole depth is your bust divided by 6 plus 2 inches. So I measure my bust, I added extra 2 inches because I want it to be a bit free. Waist divided by 4, I add extra 2 inches. Hips divided by 4, I added extra 2 inches. Do you understand? So it will so we will maintain the hip measurement. That's what you are going to use down. So the same measurement you use for the hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches. That's what you are going to use for the down part. So you are going to measure the midpoint of that ankle. Go in by 0.5 because I don't want it to be too deep. So you just connect it with your free hand. So for the neckline now, I'm using 4 inches for the width. Then I'm cutting the front neckline and back neckline together. For the front, from the back, I'm going to use 2 inches. I will now come down by 7 inches for the front. It's a V neckline, so by the time I'm cutting it, I'll first cut the back. I will now separate it before I will cut the front. Do you understand? So like I said earlier, if you are doing for the hip line, make sure you maintain whatever you have for the hip, maintain it down. So that's how to sew a shift dress. So I'm just going to continue to maintain that hip line. Whatever I had for the hip plus the extra 2 inches allowance, that's what I'm maintaining. I'll maintain it that. Meanwhile, when you're drafting, you make sure you blend your sharp edge so that your clothes will not be having ear when you are done. So after we're done like that, I will now cut it out. So while cutting it, make sure you actually blend in that any sharp edge you have and make sure you add half inch to the shoulder part. So that's what I'm doing now. So you separate the front from the back. So I've gone ahead to remove it. So now I can now cut out my front neckline. So I'll just cut out the neckline and our shift dress is making sense. So now in order for us to do that design, you can do any design you want. So I'm just using chalk to just do this snake like design on the front of the fabric. I'll do for the back too. So it now depends on you. You can be creative, you can do V, you can do anyhow you want. But this is what the client actually ordered specifically. So you're just going to use your chalk to mark it. Do you understand? And don't forget that as I'm marking for the front, I will also mark for the back. So when we are done now let's go to the machine. So you now take your trimming. Make sure it's a tight stitch. If you do a loose stitch, it will start rumpling. So make sure when you adjust your machine, it's a tight stitch. You now start stitching on it, following the lines you drew earlier. Do you understand? So I'm going to do that now. I will do for the front and I will just make sure that just know that as I'm doing for the front, I'm doing for the back. And if you like, you might not do for the back necessarily. It might only be for the front. You can just be creative with yours. So that's what we're doing now. So I'm just going to draw it small, small till I get a very beautiful design. So let me show you how it looks like when I'm done. Please make sure as you are sewing it, use a tight stitch for it. Don't forget to use a tight stitch. And you have to be careful so that it will be neat. You can see the way I'm doing mine and it's very neat. So I'm going to continue to do that till I'm done with everything. So this is how it looks. So let's cut this sleeve. So for the sleeve now, you just take your remaining fabric and fold it into four. It's a 3/4 sleeve, so the length of the sleeve is 16, but I'm using the length of the sleeve is actually 15. But since I'm using a 1 inch elastic, so I made it 17 inches. So by the time I turn in 1.25 inch for the casing for the sleeve, it will be shorter. So I'm just going to mark it so that I can confirm that it's the same with what I'm having on the main bodies of this cloth. So I already draw it. Make sure you are marking it until you are sure. So after you've done that, now you now go to the down part of that sleeve and measure your sleeve edge opening divided by 2. Make sure you have extra allowance because it's elastic, so it will do very well. So I'm now going to cut it out. So after cutting it out, now it's time we will use the remaining fabric to just cut facing for the front and the back, the leftover fabric. So that's what I'm doing. So you just fold the fabric into two, place your front on it and trace out the neck and the shoulder. Do you understand? So you remove your fabric now, measure at least 2 inches. I'm using 2 inches for the facing. So I'll just measure 2 inches from the up and the down part so I can get this V structure. So I'll do the same for the back to cut facing for it. So I'm just going to measure it gently and just cut it out. So I'm just going to cut it. So after cutting it out now, this is how it's looking. So I'll do the same for the back. You are going to fold your back into two and cut out the facing for the back also. So when we are done now, it's now time to now attach everything that I want to attach now. So I'm cutting out the back now. So when we are done, it's now time for us to now couple this together. So you are going to place your facing on the front part and on the back part also and stitch it. Then for your sleeve, fold it in by 1.25 inch. Then sew the edge together. Can you see it? I've put rubber band in the edge of that sleeve, but let me show you. I've sewn it by 1.25, the casing, because our elastic is 1 inch. So you're now going to impute your elastic. So use your safety pin and just do it. I've done the other side. I just want to show you. So this is how you will do it. Since this elastic is 1 inch, make sure your casing is more than 1 inch, at least 1.25 inch, for you to get a very good result. If you make it exactly 1 inch, it will be very difficult for you to put in. So I'm doing it that, and this is how it look. So when you've done that, you're now going to go to your machine, close up this edge, then close the other edge when the elastic comes out, and close up the sleeve. So when you're done, this is how it looks like. So now for the main bodies, so you are going to, you've stop stitched the opening already. So you are going to place right side facing each other and you sew it. Do you understand? Right side facing each other, you sew the shoulder. So when you are done now, I'm going to use hemming to do the neckline. So I'm not closing it out yet. So I will use hemming when I'm done. What I will do now is to close both sides together. If you want to put pockets, this is the time you put pockets. Then you sew the down part. After sewing the down part, you attach your sleeve and our shiftless is ready. So this is a very simple tutorial. So this is the look. So kindly like this video and subscribe. Bye.